Welcome to the WWSD podcast. We are sponsored by Collector's Maze. You can check them out at collectorsmaze.com for all things related to fandom. I'm your host, Josh, and as always, I'm joined by my buddy, Seamus. How's it going, Seamus?
Doing great, man.
That's great to hear, buddy. We're actually, we have a special treat tonight. We have not only one, but two comic writers joining us. I have Sam, the creator writer of Geek-Girl, and Mark, the creator writer of Guano Guy. How's it going, guys?
Going all right. How are you?
We're good.
We're good. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like we haven't, let's see, you're technically our second and third comic people. Usually we interview comedians, actors, stuff like that. So we're pretty big comic fans. So we're really excited to talk to you guys tonight.
Well, I think Mark dabbles in a bit of comedy as well, don't you, Mark?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Stand up.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh,
nice.
We'll have to do a sister episode then. We'll talk about your stand-up career.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we never really had two different guests at the same time, so I want to make sure you guys get equal amount of time. But we'll start with Sam since you approached us. Sam, how'd you get into comics or writing comics at the very least?
So, like, basically, I was at an age where I knew I wanted to be like some sort of writer. I'd like been into comics as a kid, got out of them in teenage years. I was at a Virgin Megastore, and the Rob Liefeld New Mutants with Cable and all
Deadpool, yeah,
stuff caught my eye, and that kind of got me back into comics, and that kind of led to, well, that was kind of quite close to the Image era, and then Image, again quite close to when they launched, did like a talent search thing where you had to like pitch ideas featuring their characters, like a one-page outline. So that kind of, I did that, it kind of got me hooked. And it's like, as I say, that was in the time where I was deciding exactly what I knew I wanted to do writing. I was deciding exactly what kind of writing I wanted to do. And basically, once I did that, I entered a few talent searches. A Wizard Comics magazine. Remember Wizard Comics magazine?
I remember Wizard, yeah.
And I did that. They did a Malibu Comics when Malibu got taken over by Marvel. Like you got to like pitch ideas for like a sort of Malibu, again like a one-page outline, and I entered that, and I came like joint second, and you won like every Malibu comic ever. So I was like, yeah, I enjoyed that. Let's do this.
All right. Okay. And Mark, what got you in the comics?
Yeah, I was reading them as a little kid, and just really dug. Was thing that really got me going and reading was comic books, starting with Archie and Disney comics, and then got into Batman, and just kept reading from there. G.I. Joe was real popular when I was a kid. As far as getting into the writing, I started writing at an early age, was writing short stories, including like miniature comics. Age 8 or 9 was already writing, and never really thought about writing comic because there was just kind of the big two, and that something about that didn't really appeal to me. And then the indie explosion happened, and then 10 or so years ago, web comics really popped up and became a thing, and that's when I caught on to that pretty early, and that got me excited. Like, I can just do this, you know, get with somebody, work together, put it out, and just start making it happen, and not really need some bigger entity to tell me that it's, you know, that they believe in it or not. Not that I'd be against that, just, you know, sometimes, especially with a comic like the Guano Guy, it's not an easy sell. You gotta really prove it a lot more, you know.
Don't have any gatekeepers there. So
I still don't quite understand the gatekeeper concept. I just know it's the kind of thing where it's like, I really have to talk to somebody for them to get it. They're like, this is a funny comic book. It really is. You got to actually flip it open and take a look at it. It's like reading a cartoon, you know?
I gotcha. And you guys know each other, right? And you've collaborated. You want to talk about your guys' relationship?
So yeah, I think we kind of knew each other online a little bit, and then one of the Geek-Girl Kickstarters I did, there was a thing where one of the rewards was, well, the intention of it was you could have you and a friend or partner drawn into a scene in Geek-Girl. and Mark got on that, but wanted to draw his characters into it, Guano Guy, Mr. Marvelous Man. And like once that happened, I was like, the context for it was like Geek-Girl's new direction is fronting a super team, so that it's a plane scene where some of the potential teammates are coming together, flying to the HQ in this plane. And I was like, I like Mark, I like his characters, maybe we could kind of like expand this a little bit. So what was initially intended as just like a cameo became part of the whole plot of Geek-Girl's team coming together. And so we got together, they're Mark's characters. So we got together and co-scripted them so that they were authentic. And then it kind of like, again, it was just going to, for a year average reward backer, it would have been just appearing on the plane in that scene, and that's that. But, they're also superheroes, they're also quirky superheroes, as is Geek-Girl. So like, we thought it would be quite fun to expand this a little bit. So basically it became like a 2-issue thing. And well, Mark, have you anything to elaborate on that?
Yeah, that's the good gist of it. But yeah, there was some real funny usage for it, because if you're bringing all the people together, why not have some who showed up and didn't make it?
Yeah. I mean, it has become like an absolutely. I mean, you're not going to be particularly aware of where I've gone with it since then, because it's just in script form, but it's become an integral part of the plot, in that like Geek-Girl's team was coming together, and now, well, Guano Guy, spoiler warning, because of Guano Guy being who he is, which is like, he's a superhero but doesn't like too much danger. And it was a bit too much danger for him when their plane got attacked. So he was out. So they're a man down. And this has kind of facilitated a plot that wasn't something I had in mind previously. Again, it's all been very organic, where Geek-Girl, Ruby K, her best friend Summer, is like, she kind of pushed her into becoming a superheroine. The setup with Geek-Girl, hot popular college chick, lands a pair of super tech glasses on a drunken whim. They give her flight and super strength powers, not used to them. When she's trying to show them off to her cool kid clique, she just like knocks drinks over them because she don't know what she's doing. They are not impressed. But Summer is really into it. And in the original Geek-Girl miniseries, Ruby gets put in a coma because of fighting this big bad and getting electrocuted. Summer fills in as Geek-Girl, so gets a taste for it. So Summer kind of wants to be a superheroine. And as a result of where we've gone with the whole Guano Guy not making the cut thing, there's like an opening in Geek-Girl's new super team. So that is going to lead to a whole thing with Summer. So it's really nice how sort of organically the whole thing is story told, if that's the correct term.
So one quick question: how much did you have to pledge on the Kickstarter to get actually added to the comic? What was that number?
I don't remember exactly, but whatever the amount was, it turned out to be extremely well spent.
Yeah,
it was a bargain.
Yeah.
now, because I did it without even looking at what other people, because it's like, it's not an unusual thing to get drawn in as a cameo. But this was like, integral part. So frankly, Mark, spoiler warning, you're going to be getting a massive invoice.
So we kind of got the slight backstory.
A lot of cameos.
So we got the backstory on Geek-Girl. So what's the backstory on Guano Guy? What's his deal? Because like he was kind of like breaking the fourth wall when I was reading the sampling pages, and he was kind of all over the place. Is that just his MO?
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of a Family Guy feel in that, with the way it is approached. I think of it as Seinfeld with superpowers, where it really isn't about anything. I mean, as far as like a story progressing somewhere, you could catch any issue, and it's very much a sitcom, but it's a superhero sitcom. So those are kind of my two favorite things as a kid, was sitcoms and superheroes. So I put the two together. So you've got a different cast of jerks. They all have, thoughts, motivations, and whatnot, but they're just going to end up in ridiculous scenarios and have really wacky solutions to them. I do a lot of making fun of the comic genre or just stuff in life. The fact that I did stand-up comedy has helped out as well, where I just sometimes have like a unique idea about something in life and I'm able to have fun with it on paper with different characters. So it's really is just a lot of fun. I like doing, I guess you don't need it all up front, but I like doing like a full length issue as well as a second half that's all short stories where I can hit a lot of ideas quickly, kind of like when I was doing the web comic where 3 pages is a full story, but it's it feels like more than 3.
Gotcha.
I think as well, just to go back on the Seinfeld thing, for fans of Seinfeld, I think there is a really strong parallel in the, like Seinfeld, I kind of describe as Seinfeld came before Friends, but I describe Seinfeld as the anti-Friends in that Friends are all like nice and Seinfeld are all very self-involved. And I think that's the thing with Guano Guy. He's very altruistic is not the word.
He's very motivated by like the fame of being the hero more than the actually helping the person. And then there's a reporter character who has Thor's hammer, and she's so obsessed with getting the story she often fails to. She could have saved the day herself, but she's just trying to be famous as well. And Mr. Marvelous Man has the power to really save the day, but he's just kind of an idiot who goes along with whatever the manager tells him. So they're all kind of dumb in a way. Not necessarily intellectually dumb, but they're just too
self-involved. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Guano Guy, is that kind of like a play on Batman a little bit, or
no, gosh, no.
Guano
draw that parallel.
Well, Guano is I've always heard the term bat guano, like for
he's being sarcastic, James.
Oh. Wow, I didn't even catch that. You're good at that.
So one of the things, so
you're 100% right.
So Sam did a 2-issue, you said it was a 2-issue series with Guano Guy and Geek-Girl. So were you writing the 2 issues, or were you collaborating with Mark on it? Like how did that actually work with that creative process?
So it's part of the Geek-Girl ongoing series, but like basically because again it came about organically, it wasn't pre-planned. So there's bits in it's issue 5 and 6 of the Geek-Girl series where you've got Guano Guy and Mr. Marvelous Man. So we co-scripted those.
Okay.
Authentic. Yeah. So it's not a it's part of the whole. I mean that's one of the things that I love about comics is like the sort of bigger universe thing.
Multiverse.
Yeah. So as I say, it's affected where things are going to go with Geek-Girl.
Yeah. Sam wrote his own issues, and then when he was like, "Hey, I kind of have an idea for working this in and making it something bigger than just a cameo," he told me what the idea was, and then it was more like I was a resource to just help the characters be them who they are within the scene. So I was just there as an assistant.
Correct to the characters, so to have them speak in their voices. But as I say, it's integral to the plot, and it's a really fun thing. It's like we've got like on the new Kickstarter, there's like we've done new limited variant covers, which are Guano Guy limited variant covers. So it's become like a thing. So,
Mark, I'm assuming you're not the artist for your comic as well.
That is correct. Yeah.
So
So
who's drawing the conjoined comics then? Are your 2 comic drawers, cartoonists, are they working together, or is it just one guy doing it all?
For Sam's comic Geek-Girl, his artist did all that. That's their comic. I just helped out with that scene and the character authentic, like he said, but that's his artist that did all that work, concluding that really awesome cover where Mr. Marvelous Man is shirtless, which ended up being a very good look. It was very just punk rock and roll, still had his like strap of spikes going across his chest, but no shirt. I was like, that's actually a pretty good look for him.
That's neat.
I've always meant to ask you actually, Mark. There's like, I don't know how much of all of this you two have seen, Seamus and Josh, but Mr. Marvelous Man generally has like red eyes. What's that about?
Yeah. Well, he's an alien.
Oh, is he? I did not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Like that's not immediately observed. Like we started to hint at it in issue 2.
Okay.
There'll be a further issue where it's a much deeper reveal. It was shown back in like the web comic, so we'll have a big expanded version of that. And the people in the city aren't too excited about the fact that he's an alien.
So are you then, Mark, for your universe?
What you're suggesting, Sam?
No,
it was
not that.
Oh, fair enough. So Mark, then, so is your universe going to be tied to Sam's universe and vice versa now? I mean, so Sam's universe has Guano Guy and was it Mr. Miracle or Miracle?
Mr. Marvelous Man. Yeah.
Marvelous Man. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So are you? So is your universe is going to be tied together now, or are they going to be separate? Like, are you going to write your books without? Because I'm sure you're going to still write books and all that. Like, you still have an ongoing series.
Oh yeah, I mean they're separate comic books and separate worlds, but if they can cross over again in the future, if I could somehow convince Sam to let Geek-Girl hang out with Guano Guy, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean there's scope there, like in the what is like in the Geek-Girl Kickstarter, because we both got Kickstarters running simultaneously, and they both feature these limited variants of the issues of Geek-Girl with Guano Guy. And I did an interview recently where in the latest issue of Geek-Girl, which isn't out yet, but is on the Kickstarter, Mean Girl, who's a potential arch nemesis, and I ran this by Mark, she references, like, she's like totally like a supervillain, and she's fought like, she reels off the people she's fought, and one of them is Mr. Marvelous Man. And I did an interview recently with Wayne Hall off of Major Spoilers, and he was like, so did that happen? And it's like, yeah, it happened. We haven't seen it, but it happened. So there's always scope there to go further into that.
And that's actually really cool. Like, I like the idea of having your each of your own universes, but they still touch off each other. I mean, that's what like DC did very well like years ago, is like intertwining all their characters together. And it's cool that you guys are separate entities as well still, and like, but you're collaborating and all. That's really, really cool.
Yeah. I really love the crossover elements comics, but you don't want to go X-Men where you have to buy 11 comics a month to follow one story.
Yeah,
it's the Marvel approach.
Like crossovers, like do some special book that is like the main story, and then let the other comics diverge off that story where you can get them if you want to, but you don't have to. I don't, the whole like make me buy a ton of stuff it's not encouraging. Yeah.
I mean, they're not. Yeah, it's a money grab for the most part. Every time there's a big crossover event, it's always a money grab to some capacity. But so Sam, did you have anyone else that did the for the Kickstarter that got their characters in your books? Like, are you also doing side projects with those guys as well?
No, I mean this was entirely like on Mark. It was like the reward was to have you and a friend or you and a partner drawn in. So like in the plane scene where Guano Guy and Mr. Marvelous Man appeared, we had like a married couple, and we had two best friends.
Okay. So people actually use it as themselves, not their comic book characters.
I mean, that's what it was. But, you know, Mark, being the maverick that he is, went that direction with it. So yeah, that it was never intended to be like you know, it wasn't intended to be part of like they were just on the plane was the reward. It wasn't going to be integral to the plot, but then because of how it went with Mark, that is how it played out.
So, were you guys aware of each other before this collab happened?
Yeah.
We've got we had a mutual friend, and we had like seen each other's stuff through social media. I'd already read some of the Geek-Girl books, so I mean, we live in different countries, so you know, we haven't got to hang out. I'm sure we would if we did, but yeah, we had known each other a little bit already. So
were you guys fans of each other's work beforehand?
Oh yeah.
Well, I can only speak for me, but
truth time, Sam.
Yeah. I mean, I've got all the Guano Guy books. So yeah, I mean, it's like I wouldn't want a character that I don't care about in the book, you know?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Unless you paid him a lot more.
For example, you know, going a little bit off piece there. For example, there was a comic character called Justin Bieber, and he wanted to appear in the comic and become integral to the plot. No.
So
if there was
Sam,
such a character.
If there was such a character, I mean, I've never heard of such a character, but I hope I never do either.
So Sam, you put all your books in print. Mark, is all your books in web? Like, do you normally do web comics, or is it you actually print your books?
Yeah, it's all in print as well.
Okay.
Yeah, if some other countries would start doing print on demand in their different regions, I would be better offer to the rest of the world. But
they don't have print on demand in the UK.
No, they don't. Or Canada. You know, those are the
really?
two. That and Australia are the three. Actually, that's probably the three places outside the US where I get some requests. And there's still those pesky shipping charges.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So it's because of the print on demand company is just US based that you use.
Yeah.
But we both, I mean, the comics are digital as well as print.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No problem with that.
Of course.
Okay.
It still lets anybody in the world read it. It's just, you know, it's so much more fun to read a comic in your hand. At least
I like the paper feel of it, turning pages. Nothing's like that.
Yeah.
The last comic writer we had on, his comic was exclusively on was it I think it was Webtoons.
Yeah, Webtoons.
Yeah, so he was on the premium for Webtoons, and he worked with them and all. And so I was just curious if you guys had similar situations like that. So the actual, like, the books themselves, though, like, do people just buy like the ebooks basically? Is that how they read them online, or are they hosted somewhere?
I mean, I don't know, Mark, if you have any kind of like web comic thing. I mean, mine is it's like a comic, so it's like either a physical
By the issue, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you can get both of those on Kickstarter. I've not really gone the web comic route. I don't know if you alluded to something about web comics earlier, Mark.
Oh yeah, I had previously done it as a web comic for several years, but that was a while back. That's how it got started, and then I went over to print, and I've enjoyed until the last year. I enjoyed doing store signings and going to conventions and shows a lot more than putting online. Although that was a good start. It was a good education and a good way to get going with it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like being famous like Guano Guy, right?
Yeah.
What were you saying, Sam?
Did things go differently where you're at, Sam?
Did something happen last year that made you not want to do these store signs and conventions anymore? What happened there?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen The Walking Dead, but it was similar.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're talking about.
Or 24 hours later in your case.
Right.
All right, yeah, you are a comedian. That was
The Walking Dead are what you know as.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So what's got you guys actually into like doing like these kind of like graphic novels like this? Like, did you see someone else do it and you kind of just like, oh, let me try this, or was you just doing it just because you wanted to do it?
For me, it was just like I said, it was like once I had sort of the opportunity to do like sort of prototype pictures, and that was enough for me. I'm like, yeah, there's no, I mean, I've got like strong influences. I always reference Grant Morrison's run on Doom Patrol, the big thing. Like the weirdness is increasingly a factor in Geek-Girl, because like I've had a lot of weird and wonderful ideas that I wanted to bring to my comics, but I needed an ongoing series to do that. So like, for example, Mean Girl is the potential nemesis that gets introduced in the new issues of Geek-Girl, and like she has a phone that she can blast rainbows into someone's eyes.
Unicorns.
Yeah, which makes them hallucinate being attacked by unicorns while listening to. I'm not fixated on Justin Bieber whilst being attacked by unicorns while listening to a Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande mashup, and I don't think that would exist without me having ever read Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol.
Right.
Gotcha. And what about you, Mark? What influenced you to get into graphic novels?
Yeah, really just loving comics as a kid and always wanting to make them and just not seeing the path until I saw the web comics, and I started reading some of those and just totally thought I can jump in and start doing that. And after doing web comics for a couple of years, really I started going to shows and showing a physical book to a bunch of companies. And after getting a healthy doses of no's, it's like, okay, I'll just have to do it on my own. And this is the first book that I've done on my own. So
yeah, so you guys are both self-published, right? Like, so can you talk about that process?
I just want to stop you there. I'm not self-published. I've got a publisher. Mark might be slumming it with the self-publishing.
My apologies.
That's right. Aren't you, Mark? Aren't you with Terraform anyway?
No, that didn't end up lasting.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm back to being a soloist. So let's see how it goes. Yeah, I'm still working on it.
Sorry, Seamus, I've derailed us somewhat. What was the question?
So if you, I was asking about what the process is like to get these things published, basically.
Okay, I mean, I think, though as I say, I am with a publisher, I think Kickstarter I don't think it makes that much difference whether you have a publisher or not. It's just a superb platform because it makes it an event. I mean, you can get Geek-Girl on Comixology, but if you get it on Kickstarter, you've got stretch goals, you've got limited prints, all of that. It's a great vehicle. I mean, I think Keanu Reeves did okay out of it quite recently, didn't he?
Yeah.
And what about you, Mark? How's the publishing going for you?
I mean, it's definitely a challenge. It's after already writing and lettering and organizing it all, and then you got to try and market a book individually. Luckily, there's another project that I worked on that's getting a lot of attention. So hopefully that ups my profile a bit. And then I've got a couple other books down the line. I got to pick one of the two of them and get going on it because I like to add to the repertoire. But it's definitely a challenge. It's not easy. I did a lot of shows and went into a lot of stores, and there is a indie, not publisher, but there is a indie. How to put together? What are a diamond? There's an indie distributor that's come together. That's starting.
That's actually cool.
Yeah, they're collecting up indie books. So mine's going to end up in that, so that hopefully will get into some more stores. And I've got friends and I got people who like the book, so I just got to continue to plug away at it and grow it slowly. I mean, it's kind of like, I guess, if you're in a band, and you're in a town and you just have to grow your, play shows and grow your rep and get people to get noticed.
Now, Sam, have you had any issues with your books getting over to US, or does your publisher take care of that kind of thing?
No, I mean, the Kickstarter, basically, my publisher, they do digital and they do trade paperbacks. So any individual issues are down to me. That's my goal. Just a tip for anyone: shipping, Kickstarter, or anything. Sweden, be very, very specific on what you put on the customs label, or it comes back to you. This is what I've learned recently. Basically, like anywhere else, comic, no value, done. Sweden, no. So generally, no problems. Sweden,
But so this gives us a good segue into the actual Kickstarter portion. I know you guys wanted to talk about your Kickstarters a little bit in depth. Sam, tell us about like your Kickstarter. You have a bunch of Kickstarter goals and all that. Like what can people expect from your Kickstarter?
So I mean, basically, what this one is like Geek-Girls. It's been going a while. We've had a mini series. We've had the ongoing, but like this one is like, as I said, Geek-Girl was Ruby K, hot popular college chick. It Girl now become a genuine superhero and fronting a super team. So what we've got on the new one is like there's a trade paperback which collects everything so far of this new direction as part of a super team. For those that are already on board that new direction, there's 2 new issues. So basically that's the deal. You can get on, there's various entry points. You can come on at the beginning of the mini series for this Kickstarter. There's all kinds of entry points, but the main thrust of it is like there's this, as I mentioned before, there's this Doom Patrol influence where I had all these weird and wonderful ideas I wanted to bring to it. It needed an ongoing series to do that, and beginning with issue 5, and this is what we've got with Mark, the crossover element, because you've got Guano Guy in issue 5 and 6, and we've got these limited variant editions with Guano on the cover. So that's the beginning of the new direction, and you can get on that, you can get on previous, you can get the trade, but the new Kickstarter is about the new direction where things get weird, and it's a super team which Guano Guy is a potential member of. Spoiler warning, not a member of.
All right. And Mark, what about your Kickstarter?
Yeah, so my Kickstarter is for Guano Guy issue 4. It's a 40-pager with a host of artists. Alexander Unlin is the main artist who draws the continuing adventure, but a whole bunch of artists came in on the different short stories. I was lucky to grab a lot of really interesting different styles. And so, I mean, it's the 4th ongoing issue. There's also another 4 issues of short stories. So there's actually 8 Guano Guy issues and about 250 pages. So all of those are available. This will be the last one that offers the short story issues. I'm going to start collecting those up into a trade coming with the next one. Not that that's a threat or anything. It's just if people like the floppies, this will be the last one. But yeah, I mean, my campaign's got, you can download issue 1, so you can go ahead and read the first one and see if you dig it. And that, I think that's about the easiest selling point there is. Like if you laugh at it, go get the other ones and help me out here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're getting close to the initial goal, and then there's a freebie print that'll go in with the books. It's pretty neat, and there's some more stretch goals coming after that. But it's a ton of material. So I mean, at 250 pages, like, geez, get in at some point before it's more than you can read. You know.
Gotcha. All right, let's I kind of interested in a little bit of your creative styles, like your writing processes. So Sam, I'm assuming is your art, your guy that does your art, is he in the same place as you? Like, do you guys communicate, or is he across the world?
He's in Colombia. Our team is very international. We've got Granda is Colombia, the artist, Chan Zhao, China, the colorist, and the closest to me is Paul McLaren, who's the letterer in Scotland. So yeah, that's all done by the joys of the internet. But I think I don't think it matters basically in terms of proximity, because like they all get it. Like we've had a 4-issue miniseries where now the newest issue on the Kickstarter is issue 9 of the ongoing, and like they're all into it. So they're invested in it. You can see, you know, they're not dogging it, they're not hacking this out. So I think that's the key to it, basically, in terms of it being a great creative team, is that they, like Carlos, he doesn't like to be called Carlos, Grander, always Grander. That is at some point going to get embedded in my brain. He's called Carlos Grander, but hates being called Carlos. Anyway, he's like the body language, the facial expressions he brings out in these characters. A lot of this is not in the script, and another artist that wouldn't come out. It's because he gets it. He is invested in these characters. So it's a kind of symbiotic. I never know, is it symbiotic or symbiotic?
Symbiotic, right?
Yeah,
Symbiotic.
I believe so.
Okay, so yeah, it's that kind of a relationship, which is exactly what you want in a creative team. So I couldn't do better. And also, like, my character Carbracini, voodoo junkie hit woman, who had a life, the ex-crack whore turned supernatural gun for hire, who had a life before Geek-Girl, but I wanted to bring into Geek-Girl to introduce her to a broader audience before bringing her mini-series out, which is going to be a future Kickstarter. Like, she's come into the series and he's nailed it with her. It's like we're on the wavelength where he gets, you know, the sensibility of these characters. So it's great. It's like I couldn't be happier with the creative team.
Now, do you normally like send him your script and he draws it up, then send it back your way? Like, how's that back and forth like work?
Yeah, I mean, it's a script. He sends. I mean, he needs very little editing, which is great because you know sometimes that's not the case. But again, a successful creative relationship, that's, you know, it is partly because of that component. You know, if you've obviously got, you know, he gets it, so it's not going to need a lot of editing. I mean, the main thing is he brings more to it than is in the script. I don't want to nail down every facial expression, every physical movement. That's, you know, for the artist to bring out in the characters because he knows the characters. So it works really well. As I say, I mean, we use, like, the creative team is consistent, but we use like different variant cover artists. Like Carlos Villas has done a cover of a variant cover for issue 9 of Carbracini Voodoo Junkie Hitler, and he's got a much more sort of painted style. Sam Kumanaki, who's a rising star, she recently did a limited variant for the Batman Miracle Molly, a character they've been bigging up. She did a cover for the issue 5. So it's nice to have these different variant cover artists, but like in terms of the comic itself, it's great to have a creative team that is the creative team. Which brings us to Mark, who has a different artist on every issue.
Yeah. So how does your creative process work then, dealing with a different person every time and all the short stories and stuff?
So I originally, when I had the webcomic, I had one artist who I worked with for quite a while, and we were buddies and hanging out. And then he had to leave due to family matters and work and whatnot. And then there was another artist who came in and did issue 1 and had done a few short stories, but then they dropped out. So then there was a break for a while. And then Alexander Unlin and I met through, again, social media and started reading each other's stuff because he had his own comic. And then I asked him if he would do some short stories and was looking for an artist. So I for issue 2.5, it was a slew of different artists to try to find the right one. And Alexander and I started working together. So he did half of issue 2.5 and then ended up doing issue 2 and 3 and now 4. And then in addition to the work that he does, every issue has a menagerie of artists that I get for a few pages for little short stories, which is really nice because it's nice to see different styles and ideas. And oftentimes it just comes together to make a really neat aesthetic where you get an anthology style book, kind of like the old, say, the guy that was prevalent, Marvel Man. Sorry. where you get these just fun little stories that happen and they don't all have to connect together or have continuity. And you get a lot of that, but you also do have this continuity story. So, if you got only a minute, there's something you can read in that time and enjoy and get something silly and fun to get your day going out of the Guano Guy. And if you've got 30 minutes just sitting somewhere, get into the bigger stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Mark's, though I did, throw him a grenade with the using a different artist on every issue thing. I've done that on, I had a comedy super team book called The Almighties, and it totally worked like that. Because I think with Guano Guy, for one thing, it's not all Guano Guy. You've got the sidekicks, you've got Mr. Marvelous Man. So the sidekicks are pretty young, aren't they? So it kind of works to have a sort of cuter look thing going on with that. So I mean with Carbracini that's introduced in Geek-Girl, I've got a similar thing going on where there's different sort of vibes to the strips, and she goes into different dimensions. So it's actually consciously I didn't want the same artist on all of it, because you want a different feel going on. But with Geek-Girl, it's as much as there is this weirdness and that, it is Ruby Kay is this college girl. It's kind of it's grounded much more than I think a lot of superhero books, because at the heart of it you've got Ruby and her BFF Summer, who are these 21-year-old college girls. So there's that grounding it, whereas I think your Guano Guy and your Carbracini, it's a more fantastical thing. I mean, Guano Guy, we never see without his mask, right?
Never. Mm-mm.
Oh, that's a thing.
No idea what he looks like without a mask.
No.
Hey, if he's at home just sitting on the couch eating potato chips and watching TV, he's still got his mask on.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. I didn't even think to mention the Guano Boys. I mean, that's a whole team now. All his ex-sidekicks got together. One of whom is an old elderly man, but they don't discriminate. So, yeah, the sidekicks have had a few adventures on their own. They have the sidekicks show up in this one too. It goes back and tells the story of the first sidekick who disappeared, who's making his first reappearance after being missing in action for quite a while. He was on a milk carton, and he was on, Have You Seen Me posters about town.
We didn't actually see him die then in the previous, because that's not a hindrance.
We never see anybody die in the Guano Guy. I mean, this is 80s cartoons, or it says, it's got the cutaway. So he was just left in a pit of monsters, and you can kind of draw your own conclusions.
Yeah.
So besides your Kickstarter and all that, what other goals are you guys looking to accomplish? I know you guys have some spin-off projects and stuff like that you're working on. What's some of your goals? We'll start with Mark.
The big book that I'm actually wrapping up right now, which is another reason that I needed my campaign to run longer, so as to try and distance these things out a bit. I've done a ton of work on this book, Image Grand Disaster, that's going to come out in a few days. And it's just a giant smorgasbord of Image Comics stories, using those characters, totally non-profit or nothing. I mean, we're not selling the thing. It's just for people to read. We made it during the year off.
The COVID,
and, a lot of really great artists and just a lot of fun with the characters. And design, Image Grand Design already came out, so I only had a minor involvement in that, but that book's done very well, and this is a really fun follow-up, and it's just about done. I was doing a lot of Hail Marys at the end of trying to get people to do additional pages to fill in some gaps, and I'm doing the final touches on it to turn it in Friday, and it comes out Sunday.
So you said it's a nonprofit. So are you not selling it through via Kickstarter? Or are you doing donations? What does the nonprofit comic look like?
Oh yeah, there's donation to the Hero Initiative. So that's how people can help. But I mean, the first book that came out, Image Grand Design, was 170 pages or so, and they were asking was a $5 donation, and ours will be the same, and ours is 200 plus. So I mean, it's an amazing product of great art and really fun stories that I was super excited to be a part of, and I'm now the guy putting it all together at the end. So
where can people see that?
Image Grand Design. There's a site. I'll check and make sure but yeah. Image Grand Design.
We can add all that to the show notes, so don't worry about it. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool. Okay, what about Sam? What's some of the cool stuff you're working on?
Just before we get on that, Mark, I'm interested to know what are the characters that you do on that image.
Oh yeah, we did a whole bunch. I mean, for our part, all the main characters had died and were zombified. Okay. So we had a slew of B-listers, and it was a lot of fun short stories. Like my particular story was like what happened to the Extreme Universe, and I had that the Viltrumites came and wiped them out, and that's what happened to them. But there was another guy that I got to work with, Alan Greenwood, who really liked Blood Wolf, so he has several Blood Wolf stories in there, and it's the B-listers really like stuck together in a bunker trying to keep the last bits of humanity alive while also drinking the night away, because they're like, the top dogs are gone and we're all that's left. Right. So it's a very fun. It's that, and it's also a whole bunch of other creators' short stories that are just really fun, and everything that ever touched Image just about is involved somewhere. Like every character that maybe passed through there for an issue or two, they're there. So it's the gigantic crossover that couldn't have been done any other way.
Nice. So Josh, you're asking me, with me, I'm just like really like all about Geek-Girl right now. I mean, having said that, it's, as I say, it sets up Carbracini, Voodoo, Junkie, Hitwoman's universe. So previously I had a whole fixing to work on Deadpool, which I still do, but I think when I did initially, I wasn't at that level where it would be I would be a realistic consideration to write Deadpool. I think that's still the case, but I kind of, back in the day when that was something I was like really not rabid about, but something like that, I felt it was like Deadpool wasn't being served. We weren't getting the Deadpool that I know and love. I don't know, are either of you two into Deadpool?
Yeah, I read a lot of Deadpool and Cable and all.
I love Deadpool.
Like New Mutants and stuff like that. Yeah.
So the Joe Kelly era for me was what really did it for me on Deadpool, and I felt like what had followed that wasn't the Deadpool. There wasn't the depth. I mean, the depth there that you do get in. I mean, I thought the movies nailed it. You get that the kind of pathos and so forth. So I think part of what, when I was like gung-ho about this idea of writing Deadpool, was partly because I wasn't getting the Deadpool that I wanted. But with Jerry Duggan and Brian Posehn coming on board I feel like that kind of itch has been scratched. So again, being realistic, the level I'm at in my career, I don't think I'm a realistic proposition to take over Deadpool, but that goes hand in hand with the fact that I've kind of like had the Deadpool I want. I think now it's kind of a tricky thing, because what they did, especially what Jerry Duggan did, because Posehn was only on it for a bit, they really got down and dirty with the character and gave him a supporting cast and depth. And then at the end of that, it was kind of like, right, he's had his mind, because this whole incident with part of the whole, for me, Cap Hydra debacle resulted in, as part of that, Deadpool offing Agent Coulson. And I think that's what led to him having to have his brain wiped, as if like everything we just seen never happened. And I think they've struggled to find a direction for him since then. They've tried a couple of things that haven't really had any legs. So I'm interested to see where they will go with it. But I do feel at the moment there is no, the movies, it's down. Like Ryan Reynolds is the man. it's and they've got so much source material to tap into. But it does seem for me, I don't know what you two think. And Mark, are you into Deadpool?
Oh, yes. I've already written a Deadpool story anytime Marvel wants to get in touch with me and start publishing the comedy that I already make, but for Deadpool. Oh, yeah.
Right. But yeah, it just seems to me like I don't think Marvel know what to do with him now.
So I guess so. I mean, what would you do with him? Like, what would be something? I know you don't give me all your grand ideas because Marvel just ripped them off for his show, but like,
they totally listen to our cast.
Yeah, 100%. So what are you missing from Deadpool that you feel like you're not getting?
Well, as I say, like when Brian Posehn and Jerry Duggan came on it, I got.
I got the fix. So
my feeling in that regard was predating that. But before that, I had an idea which was like when Christopher Priest took over it after Joe Kelly left, because like I don't know how much all of you know about the ins and outs of it, but like it wasn't selling great when Kelly was on it, and it was always in the threat of cancellation, so he had to keep chopping and changing and shortening his plans and that. And then it at some point it's taken, it's found its audience. But what happened when Chris Priest took over it was at the beginning of it, because of the whole meta thing, Deadpool had this great sack which was had written on it every good idea that Joe Kelly ever had, and then he goes and dumps it in a lake.
That's so awesome.
My pitch would have led with me pitching up in like a cafe with Deadpool, and I just bring this sack back out and dump that on the table, and like, right, let's open that bag and see where we can go with that. I mean, I loved the Kelly stuff. There's stuff I miss, like, Blind Owl hasn't really been touched since she's in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
All that, like, I forget what the name of the agency was, but where, Deadpool became like effectively the savior of the universe with Zoe Culloden. Again, I don't know if anyone can remember what this outfit was called, but he became like, was it Captain America was plan B or Deadpool was plan B? Either way, he got elevated to this position where he was saving the world, but in a very, not like contrived superhero way. It was still, quirky and misfit and all that. And I feel like this I'm like the T-Ray thing, the whole like T-Ray Deadpool had stolen his identity. That's never really we've never really established whether that was just fabricated on the part of T-Ray or that was real. I think there's stuff there to get back into and take in a new direction. I say I really like what Jerry Duggan and Brian Posehn did, but I feel like this I think at the moment they don't really know where to go. And for me, I think there's stuff to go back to and then see where we can go with that.
That's awesome. I like your ideas there. So say, Mark, do you have a dream comic franchise to work on?
Yeah, that's definitely one of them. Batman would be another one. I'd like to see actual detective work, like a lot more. Yeah, like, I mean, him literally going and doing evidence and putting together details and maybe even leading the police to the right place and letting them do the job, but setting it up for them, or the detective work being the majority of the story, leading to action in the end. A lot less punching a person for info and a lot more actual info gathering.
I'd like to see Batman doing a lot more paperwork.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, there's smart ways to do that. You can show the scene evolving, not just like Batman's at a desk going, Click.
No, I think we could get
Waiting for DNA evidence to come back.
Tap.
get Brian Michael Bendis on it. We could have a 24-page issue of him just doing paperwork.
Yeah. No. Do what Grant Morrison did for like that one comic where he had the whole thing about like the Joker, the small people sidekicks, and it was told mostly in narration with like one picture per page. And I'll just do that for like a whole 4-issue series and see if anyone's still reading. Yeah.
All right, I'm not aware of
Great
it.
idea. We'll just have one picture, is just him holding up a piece of evidence as we yammer on about it.
So, bag and tag everything and submitting it to the
An
courts.
endurance fest. We're gonna find out if you have the will of Batman.
Reminds me, actually, I mentioned earlier when I was on that Son Kumanaki that they were bigging up this character. I mean, I'm not really, apart from Doom Patrol, I'm not a big DC person, but they were really bigging up this Miracle Molly. Have any of you read this Batman Miracle Molly?
No, I have not.
No. Okay. Well, that was a conversational cul-de-sac.
Now, another property I would like to work on, and it's probably less far-fetched, Blood Wolf would be a lot of fun to do.
Okay.
I feel like I could bring a lot of cosmic buffoonery to that character, and even have people in mind to work on it with, since I just worked on it with them. So I think that's probably a more realistic possibility of like, hey, come on, look, we already did it. Let us do it for real.
All right.
Yeah.
We're getting close to that hour mark, so I have a couple like lightning round questions. I was wondering if you guys are good for. Seamus, do you have any other major questions for him?
Yeah, real quick. Are you guys working on any other kind of projects outside of comics? Do you do anything else creatively,
like writing or anything like that for like TV shows, movies, video games?
No.
Definitely no.
Just all comics.
Purist.
I used to work at a game company for a little while, producing board and card games, but that ended quite a while ago. So after working in that industry for a few years, and I moved on to fitness and then aviation. So
no aspirations for like doing a TV series or TV show or movie?
I mean, the Guano Guy, if I could get it big enough, I would love to see it as a cartoon. I do readings with in character voice, so I think it would make a great animated series if I could get enough awareness behind it. And then I have some other series that I need to move on to and start getting these other comics that I have been writing that are totally different out. And I could see some of them as TV shows if I can get them to the right company that has those connections. So I do have aspirations, but there's a lot going on at the moment. So
fair enough.
I gotta get from what I'm doing right now to get that next. I gotta get that next thing going.
What about you, Sam?
I mean, yeah, I primarily I'm like about comics, but I'd love to have, my stuff adapted. I mean, I think, what they're doing with comics in terms of TV shows now is great. I mean, like Umbrella Academy, WandaVision, Doom Patrol, these are superb. So it's like, they're clearly respectful to the properties. I mean, Falcon and Winter Soldier, like the things that they tapped into, I just think they're doing a great job. So, I mean, that's top level, that's Disney and so forth. But I think I don't know, it seems to be like when they do these TV shows, it's authentic and they care about making it authentic. Whereas I don't think that's always been the case.
No.
And
the last few
also,
years,
yeah. And also what I really like about it is they don't just rehash it. It's like, the Doom Patrol series, which I loved, takes a load of things from the Grant Morrison run, but it's not just playing the same story out. So if you've already read that, there's still, surprises in store for you. So yeah, I'm not writing for TV, but Geek-Girl is something I have in mind as becoming a movie. But
live
right
action
now,
or animated?
Live action. I'm gonna have like soundtracks in mind and stuff. But yeah, right now I'm really enjoying, developing that universe, and the thing with the Kickstarters is, expanding the fan base to get to a point, hopefully, where you can just keep going with this and doing it as long as you want, and then you're in a comfortable position with a property to be looking at, TV and.
So I do have a couple quick lightning round questions. I'm probably going to answer most of these already, but we'll start with Sam. Marvel or DC?
Oh, Marvel for sure, with the exception of Doom Patrol, which I love.
And Mark, what about you? You can also say Image if you want to.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that's the answer. Yeah,
it's Image. Yeah,
definitely Image Comics. I love the variety of what they're putting out. They're a company that just people can submit projects, and if they're good, it's coming out. And that's really where that's the company I grew up turning to, and it's evolved into something even better that I love finding new stuff from. And it's nice that it's not all connected. What comes out,
I think they're doing some really interesting stuff at the moment as well. Image, Time Before Time is a thing that came out recently that I'm intrigued in, about sort of traveling back to a sort of better time. They're doing it's eclectic, but they seem to. I think there was a period where it was sort of like doing like everything, but it seems like when they put something out now, it seems to sort of land on the radar better. I don't know quite what, the distinction between what they're doing now and what it was previously, but they're doing good stuff.
I think it might be that stigma, because like they always had that, like it's not Marvel, it's not DC, like I don't want to read it, and like people are finally opening up to it. They're seeing more of like, hey, there's some really good stuff here. It's not just Spawn and like Walking Dead and that kind of shit. Like there's actually some really good stuff and like some deep cuts, and people are appreciating it more. So I think it's becoming more normalized in a sense.
Yes, yeah. It's not just Spawn, and Spawn is getting 4 spin-off miniseries. So
yeah.
But, yeah, I really like that. Die is the current one that I'm really following.
Right.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
So probably I'm gonna know this one again, Sam, but favorite comic book character?
Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about you, Mark?
Batman.
Okay.
Yeah. So much you can do with him.
And then what's your favorite book series? Like not just a character, but like an actual book series?
Savage Dragon.
Okay. And what about you, Sam?
Doom
Patrol.
I'm so predictable, Josh.
Do you like your comics in trade paperback form or individual issues? How do you like to read comics?
For me, definitely individual. I've got like, because I buy loads. I think if you get like the individual, there's like an impetus to read it because the next one's coming. Whereas trade, it's like I really want to get on this Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters, but I'm so far behind on Star Wars, and it's, what is it, 367 parts, this crossover. It's going to take me a while. So I think just by the fact that if you get a new issue that there's another one coming in a month and you kind of need to read it in order to keep up with it, for me that's the best.
Now, caveat to that, I also enjoy some of these large oversized, like the really plush.
Omnibus.
Sometimes it's really nice where the art is so good that getting to see it in a bigger size and this wonderful printing, or sometimes alternate new painting, or however they did it.
Yeah, because sometimes also put like artist notes in it as well, and like some the writing direction and stuff. I really love those like oversized omnibuses. Yeah. Mark, if you can cosplay as any character, who would it be?
Guano Guy.
Besides your own. Yeah, I know you're gonna say you. That's what you say, Geek-Girl.
Actually, Deadpool would be a good one. That'd be a fun one. Although I feel like I'd be in an army of them, so I'm gonna take out the rest.
Yeah,
what about you?
Got some Reynolds vibes.
Yeah.
Sam, what about you? Would Deadpool?
Richard Simmons.
I'm sorry, who?
Richard Simmons.
Richard Simmons. Okay, that's a unique one. Fair enough.
I guess I could show up as Gene Simmons and we'll battle it out.
They're calling you one.
Do you, Sam? Do
Can
you
only
do
be
it?
one Simmons.
Do you do
Yeah,
a Richard
face
Simmons
first.
impression?
No, I've not seen him. Is he still knocking about? I've not seen him in a while.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I bet he is. I think he's probably immortal.
If there's any one comic book character you bring back, Sam, who would be the character? Not necessarily dead per se, but just kind of just dropped off the cliff. Just something
Yeah,
that's,
I mean, in terms of dead, I don't think there's many of them still in their graves.
yeah.
Dropped off the cliff. Right, okay. Defenders is coming back, and there's a
Okay.
character called Cloud, which is quite an obscure one, which I think is coming back. And like this is like super relevant now because like in the non-binary generation, it was a she, him, and it sort of alternated. And like this, it was part of the New Defenders, which is one of my favorite runs. So that is happening with Al Ewing, who's had much acclaim on the Immortal Hulk. Is it Immortal? It's Immortal, yeah.
Immortal Hulk, yeah.
So looking forward to that. So that one, which is already happening.
Gotcha. And what about you, Mark?
Yeah, I had one answer and then I thought of a better one. I
Okay.
would actually officially bring back Wally West and probably take Barry Allen back out. Give me
Everyone
back
hates
my
Barry
Flash. Give me back the better Flash. I loved Barry and he died and it was tragic, but he had a good successor who did a better job.
Barry should have stayed dead.
Yeah. Dang guy dead and let Wally do the job. It was so cool. I was ready to see Dick Grayson actually become Batman. That was awesome. Why'd you undo it? Heck, you even had Batman and Batman's going to go do the world and Dick can stay and do Gotham, but no, stop having great storylines and then undoing them out of the necessity to just keep the status quo.
Who's your Green Lantern?
Oh, that's the only one where I go
Al,
against
really?
the grain. Yeah, I'm good with him. I'm good with Guy Gardner. I'm good with.
I thought you were gonna be Ryan. I thought.
No, I didn't get real into him. I know a lot of people liked him because of the kinds of things he made, but yeah, I was really down with Hal Jordan, and that was really hard when he suddenly became a psychotic murderer and wiped out all of their other Green Lanterns. I was like, wait, what? The issue before, he was just chilling with Green Arrow, and they were doing good guy stuff. What the heck happened? Somebody slip him a Mickey? Like, that was a quick change. There was like no lead up to this at all.
What about you, Sam? I know you're not a DC guy. Do you have a favorite Green Lantern?
I want to say Guy Gardner. I think with the TV show, if they play this right, this has the potential to elevate the character and make it. Like, let's not forget, old Tony Stark was not A-list before Robert Downey Jr. came on board. So that's something I'd be interested to see. Hal Jordan, like I've mentioned, I love Grant Morrison's run on Doom Patrol. So I gave the Grant Morrison run on Green Lantern Hal Jordan a go, and I don't get. I mean, it may be because I'm not a DC guy. I don't get the character.
Gotcha.
Snort was another good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
The squirrely one that like they gave him a sector that had no life to protect because he just got like sort of like nepotismed in, and then he ended up with the Justice League and trying to do well, but like he's really, I loved that era of they were a cast of jerks just kind of stuck together trying to save the day, and none of them were that effective at it, but together they just had to make it happen.
So it's kind of reminiscent of your own comic then.
Yeah.
All right.
What was a great writer during my childhood and for a long time.
One last question we usually ask our guests is words of wisdom they would give to an aspiring comic writer in this case. Anything you wish you would have got from someone that when you just started out? We'll start with Mark.
Just get going on it. Don't the thing I see when I talk with people is they've got so many ideas and they don't lock one down. Just take one of them and get going and put something out and just get the ball rolling on that. You get the ball rolling and you just keep adding momentum to it. As you do one comic, you'll figure some things out and you'll get better. but don't get boggled down with so much creativity that you never actually make any of it. I think that plagues a lot of people. And just have the confidence, just do it, and it's going to get better. You know, your first work won't be your best work. That's okay. Just get going, put it out there.
And Sam, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I echo what Mark says, but what I would add to it is, like, I think don't go too big too soon. Like, I had ideas in my early days before I, got stuff published about, a great ongoing series, and it was too much in terms of publishers picking it up, in terms of artists committing to it. So what I would suggest doing is like starting with like short stories and anthologies, and like they don't have to be completely done in one. Like, I introduced my character Carbracini in she regularly appeared in an anthology called FX in the Halloween issues, and it's part of a bigger continuity. So if you like, as I do, the universe building, you don't have to come at it with the mentality of that's a character and then done on to the next one. It can be part of a bigger thing, but it's a lot more easy to get out there if it's just a short story in an anthology, rather than here's my big ongoing series when you're not established.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Start with something small.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the first time someone's ever said start with something small, so that's unique. Seamus, do you have any final questions?
No, I think no, I'm good.
So I want to say thank you for both of you guys coming on tonight. It's been a real blast. Where can our listeners find more of your stuff at? Sam, where can they find your Kickstarter, Instagram, Facebook, all that? Where can they find you at?
So Instagram, Sam Johnson Comics. Sam Johnson, I've got a few Facebooks. If you've got friends that are into comics, which you will have, we've probably got mutual friends, so I shouldn't be hard to track down. Kickstarter, geekgirlcomics.com leads you straight to it.
And Mark?
Yeah, Facebook, Mark Darden, or if you just want to follow the Guano Guy, he's got his own. And of course, the Kickstarter's up. You guys said you'd do links, which would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll link everything. Yeah.
You think I'm funny? You should check out the Guano Guy. That guy is hilarious.
No, we really appreciate you guys coming on tonight. This was awesome.
Yeah,
So,
it's been cool. And like, I just want to reference again that it's now 3:30 in the morning here in the UK. So you're welcome.
Yeah, you guys are obviously very passionate about what you're doing. It was enjoyed hearing you guys talk about it. It was good.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.